Awesome. You got it. This is Options Trading Made Simple with Sandy.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fit-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading. Hey guys, good morning. How are you doing today? So looking to see if you have any charts you want me to go over, but let's just take a look and start off with our weekly trade. So it looks like SPY. So this was, this was last Friday's candle. And while we were together, we were actually discussing, right, that the market had changed. It was really going down. And so really at this point, we had a gap Thursday night to Friday morning, very weak, right? And below our weekly expected move. That was very bearish. And I said, if we closed below our weekly expected move, we could see continuation of the downside. We were looking though for a little pop up. I was thinking that this last pivot high was going to offer some support so that we could maybe pop up to either our point of control or our high for that period. And it would still be a lower high, right? So we had a correction and now we're trying to make our way, right, back to some bullish consolidation to see not only can we get into a range, can we get into some healthy price action to show that we are now not in the correction anymore, that the correction has ended. How do we actually know that? So with that, because you could see this last move down when we first started the correction, you could see how, you know, we kind of went sideways for a while before we popped up, only to come right back down. Now on that Monday morning, this was Monday morning, we, by the way, did a inexpensive butterfly for a little pop up. Because with volatility in a correction, you get the same amount of volatility going up as you do down. And so with these massive swings, people are basically doing some lotto bets and some of those really paying off tenfold. In our case, it did not. We opened up on Monday and this is where the butterfly was at. And you could see that we never made a pop up here. Not expecting this much of a gap down. Boy, we really hit the bottom here. So now what we're doing is we're kind of making our way up slowly. Now, if we were to connect, and this is on a daily time chart, if we're going to connect a trend line, right, from our bottoms, you could see where we're at. Now, when we close today, we're still closing under our weekly point of control. And you can see how today we're actually tested that weekly point of control, but still stayed on the bottom. So this is what happens if you're using basically expected moves or your weekly point of control. Where does the market makers tend to show where we're going to be moving? And you can see that the indicators already identifying next week's weekly point of control, which is this area right here, depending on where we close today. So that's why it's always important to take a look at your weekly chart as well to see where are we closing? How does that look on a weekly chart? This, in fact, let's take a look at that while we talk about longer time frames. So you can see us here breaking through momentum last week, not getting to the 100 level. Nice bounce back. On the weekly, we're right at the 20. That 20 on any time frame for me can hold as resistance or it can turn into support. We're going to have to see where we open up next week. But clearly a recovery a week after our correction. You could see how this is looking right now. And look at this, how we're reaching the zero point of momentum, right? We're reaching it, but we're not there. And oftentimes what you'll see is this will curve right back down until we actually make a healthy correction. And that healthy correction in this case would be for momentum to come up above that zero line and for price to come up above that 20. When that actually happens, you can actually feel some momentum coming back into the market for some buyers. But as of right now, we are at this inflection point. It typically takes between, if you didn't know this, but after we have a correction, it typically takes between 5 to 10 days to figure out if this correction is over, and we're going to start to get now some healthy price action and basing. So basically, we'll have an area of consolidation, but this is not an area of consolidation. We're actually on the rise here. Are we? Of course, this is a low. This is a higher. This is a lower high, right? If we made a trend line down here, this is a lower low from the previous low, and this is still a lower high from the previous high. So we're still in a downtrending market. And so until we actually can pop up above that 20, we may get a trend change. But as of right now, if we don't pop above here, we could still come revisit, right? Well, and what will we be doing? We'll be making a double bottom down here if we come back to revisit some of these levels. And then from there, it could get constructive. So it's a really long process to be able to turn the bus around to get this thing going back to where we are. And oftentimes when we have these bounces, they're short term. And so as the implied volatility is higher, and we get those really sharp and large movements to the downside, we can get the same sharp and large movements to the upside. So really having a nice, powerful week, but don't get me wrong, we're still in a downtrend overall, okay? And you can tell, let's take a look at that weekly chart again. You could tell on that weekly chart, look at how many weeks we've been down. We really need to bounce above that 20 level and stay above it for us to then start to turn this thing around. Will that happen? I have no idea. We could end up just making a lower high here and coming back down to make a lower low. And so that's why a lot of times you're not really, you're not like marrying any type of trade here. All the trades that we're taking, it really is a lot of day trades as well as a lot of lottos. So that's what we got going on with SPY. Let's take a look at the QQQs. Boy, we were really pumping on the Qs, and now we've put the brakes on. If we look at a weekly as well, still in a downtrend, not even close, by the way, to that 20. Look at momentum on a daily. Look at that momentum coming down, breaking below. That is really some strength. You could see the last time that we came down here, by the way, we didn't break below that 100 line. And we still, we had a nice move down, and then we came up. And then now look, we're breaking below. So this looks really weak actually on a weekly for the Qs. If we look at a daily, you could see that, we come down, we consolidate, we come down, we consolidate, we come down, consolidate, big down. And now we're kind of moving up here, but it's still a lower high, right? Still a lower high. So we need to get above that 20. If you can actually identify that, you could test it, and then you can say, hey, this works for me, or maybe it doesn't. But it's a very easy way to see where you're at in the chart, especially if you're too zoned in and focused on the smaller time frames. You may not see the bigger picture, and you really want to take a look at that because things can change just like that tomorrow. What else do we have going on here? Let's take a look at some shorter term time frames here. So wanted to take a look at an hourly. You could see that this is the weekly expected move for the Qs. Actually, within the last 4 or 5 days, staying and consolidating in this higher area. This is a nice base. I like to look at it on an hourly chart just to see what we have in store. You can see the trend lines here on this channel, but we never broke above our weekly expected move. So this will be interesting to see where we open up on Monday as well, to see where point of control is. We had some positive momentum here the last couple days, and looking to see if that continues. Right now, let's take a look as we go even on a shorter period. Looks like momentum is is actually, the internals look a little neutral here on a short period. And really the Q's not doing anything right here. Let's take a look at IWM. IWM on a short term, little weak here, coming down to retest its last pivot low. And you can see that it's been just a range trading within the last pivot high and low. By the way, if you guys ever use the 5 EMA, that can also help you on recoveries, by the way, of corrections. A lot of people will look at the 5 EMA, and that 5 EMA will give you a very short picture, a short duration of time to actually identify, should you be taking some lottos to the long side until we actually can recover from this correction. And so as you're starting to think in this way, you could start looking at a short-term EMA like the 5. And if we're above that 5, we can start to consolidate and then move a little higher. And where are we wanting to move to? Above that 20 to get that trend change. It doesn't change. None of these, ideas change. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So you could just kind of see how I look at the chart and the way that I do technical analysis. It may help you. It is a very simple form of it, and it works quite well. What else do we have going on? We were looking at Tesla. We took a beautiful trade today on Tesla for a day trade. Lots of day trading lately, taking advantage of these sharp moves. Let's take a look at a 5. I like to day trade on a 5-minute chart and really got this pop up. So this was a really nice move. I think we went to, what was that price? We bought into it at 200 calls at 50 cents and we exited at 92 cents. So a very nice trade here on Tesla. What was the other one? We were actually looking at SCMI as a whole. I always get a little dyslexic sometimes. Got that backwards. Yeah, I even wrote it down backwards as well. So here was actually looking for this to go lower and actually started to consolidate. So we got out of this at break even. Not really. We were actually looking for this to go down. We were looking for coin as well to make a pop, but everything is just consolidating. So got out of that. And I think the other one was SPY, originally thinking that this was going to go down. We didn't think that that move yesterday was going to actually, once we broke through this trend line, thinking that we're going to stay below it. But no, we're staying below it, but we're actually just rising as we're following that trend line. So now on a 5-minute, we're above the 20. This looks good. We have some resistance ahead at 532. You could see the weekly expected move right here at 532.88. So slow and steady. You could see that momentum did break the zero line, but immediately reversed and came back up. So we'll see how that looks. What were we going to take a look at? That's right. I was going to take a look at NVIDIA today. Let's take a look at these. All right. Everything seems to be, this is actually good for the market that we're just like consolidating and going sideways. We gapped up a little bit this morning from overnight move, and we're just going sideways. So we're not losing any ground here. So this will be interesting as we start to look at this correction. And I want to keep saying that so that you recognize that we are in a correction and we still need, right, a lot of basing for us to actually turn this around because we're just making lower highs. If we're making lower highs, we're still in a downtrend and you need to be cognizant of that on your trades. And so let's see, for NVIDIA, I can't even see this. I might have to put my glasses on. So we were looking for 105.58. 105.58, basically this consolidation line. Let's just make it 160. If we can break above 106, we can actually see 106.60 and then possibly make a move up here to 107. I don't know if that's going to happen today, but you could set an automated order. And you know that I do most of my trading in automation. Now, the good thing too is that we're actually not trending. And I have a label here that's just basically ADX. If you don't like to trade and shop, a secret not a secret, but an oscillator that you could use that a lot of people don't know about is called ADX. And anything over 25 on the oscillator of ADX means that it's trending, that ticker is trending. Anything below it means that it's really not trending. And it doesn't matter if it's trending bullish or bearish, right? It just means that there's enough of an audience in there to make a difference. So right now with NVIDIA, we're not even trending on a 5-minute. What would that tell you as a day trader? Probably to to stay out or to create some sort of maybe a straddle, right? Because you don't know what direction. There's not enough power to go anywhere. So we're really looking as we're consolidating under these bands. By the way, if you're using Darvas bands, you can use automation. Anything above the Darvas bands means that we broke through consolidation. Anything below it, right, is a bearish trade. You can do some puts and calls, and you can see we're right in the middle of the range, just kind of going nowhere. So anything above 105.58 is bullish. Anything below 104.23. So see how we're in the middle of that. And anything below 104.23. So we're actually almost to this last bottom here. Now, when we made our watch list, it was from the overnight action. And so as we look at this, I would wait until we get below even that lower. I see the consolidation bands right here, and I say anything below 103.43 now. Anything below 103, let's just say 103.40 would be a good put for today. And we might get some afternoon action. I don't know if you've noticed, but every single day that we've come in, we've had a decent sized gap, and then we do absolutely nothing in the mornings. And then we usually have some big movement in the afternoon. So keep that in mind, because, these types of, what's happened before is not a future indication, but it certainly shows you a trend, and we're trend traders. So that could help you identify, right, when there's going to be some action. TTD here. All right. So we were looking for this to break above 91.11. And as soon as we came out of the gate, we broke it. We had targets of 93.15 and 95. And you can see that's it. That trade is done. Excellent for automation is being able to see what your triggers are and then just program those triggers and let them work out while you continue your day. TSM, we were looking at TSM holding above 168.83. You can see we're not even close to that. Or below 168.83. We opened up here. Right here is our first 5-minute candle. And anything below 168.83 would have been great for puts at 164. So we haven't hit our first target. And then after 164.57, we go to 160. And so right here, look, if we can break that 164.57, we go lower to 160. You can see that's below our previous pivot low. So again, everything kind of just going sideways for now, but these are some trades that you could automate. Can we go through an automation? Since we're in the middle here, let's just do that. If I was to take a 168, let's take these ones right here on TSM while we got a couple minutes, and let's automate the trades through thinkorswim so you can get a hang of that. So if we go over to our trade tab as an example, and let's not take a 0 DTE for some of you that may not be able to partake in maybe a day trade. Maybe this goes for next week, right? So we could look at, let's see, TSM and say, okay, what happens if we get a little bit of bullishness here and we want to take a 168.83? I always just, as an automator, just round that up. So if I go to a call and say, I can either take the at the money call for 168, okay, so go to 168, and what's closest to 168? 170. So I can either take that as the strike price, or, which would be an at the money when it actually occurs, or I could take a strike that's my first target. And that first target is being 173. So I could take that 162.5 as an example. So now if I just right click that and I say, okay, I'm going to take that 172.5 and I'm going to, let's do buy a custom. Let's do buy a custom with an OCO. Why don't we do that? So if we go over to here, all I have to do is, can you see that? I want to make sure that you can see that second screen. Zunaid, can you help me with that? Can you see this second screen that's up? No, you
I
don't.
cannot. No, we only see your thinkorswim.
Oh shoot. So let's see. How would I do that? I guess
You may have
change my
to.
view. Yeah, let me change my view and see if I can do
Yeah,
that.
no worries. I will remove your yeah, you're good. Let me remove this just so you don't share something you don't want to, just in case, your bank account, your $1,000,000, whatever the case.
All
And I will
right.
share my screen in the meantime to take a look at a couple of things. And whenever you're ready, you let me know and I can share it out.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay,
What
here
are
we
you trying to share, a tab or a window?
I was trying to share a tab through thinkorswim. Let me see.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah, because
hmm,
it only shows your options chain at the moment.
yeah, that's very
Okay.
interesting.
You're
Let
good.
me.
While you do that, I'll just kind of talk about the NQ, kind of like what I was looking at when I randomly woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You had the 18,380 level that kind of held, and you got a little bit of a bounce there. To me, you got a little bit of chop for the past couple of days there. It looks like you are sharing something else. Let me go to you now. Yeah, there you go. Is this what you
All
want to
right,
share?
let's try this. Sorry that didn't
Oh, you're
catch,
good.
but
I'm gonna go in the
oh,
back. If you want to switch over, just let me know. I'll be back.
sure. So, what you can do on thinkorswim is just basically program this in, and you come right over here. You always complete the conditions first before you even take a look at this, because this is really just option pricing. But because we're going to do it with the stock price, we don't fill this in just yet. So we say TSM. We're going to keep this as mark as the default. You could see the trigger defaults to less than or equal to. So we're going to move this to the a greater than or equal to. And all you got to do for backup is just look down here and you could see where it says greater to or equal to. And then down here is where you put your stock price. Now, as an automator, I always think it's important to pad my pricing because I don't want to get like triggered from a wick. So on TSM, as an example here, I'm going to say, okay, I need 168.93, or excuse me, 168.83. So what I'm going to do is just put in 168, and maybe I do it by 10 cents. Let me do just 95 as an example. So I'm just rounding up basically. And so 168.95, giving it a little bit of pad. Now I tab out of there. And as soon as I tab out, you could see that the programming, you're now a TOS programmer, you could see that it took, right? So now when I go up here, I'm saying, hey, computer, I'm actually doing this with a trigger. Get me into this call when I break the threshold of 168.95, not from an option price. So I'm just going to be an aggressive buyer and say, hey, buy the ask. This should be 00. And I'm going to say good to cancel. So now I have a contract that's out, right, for next week. And it's always perfect that this really still looks bearish to me as far as the market as a whole. But you could do this on the flip side as well and create an order for next week on the put side. So you have one in for a trigger on the call side. You have one in for the trigger on the put side. And what could you use as that trigger, that weekly expected move point of control that we keep talking about? You could use that line, just, pad it 5 or 10 cents on either way, as an example for TSM being in, a decent sized stock here at 165. And then you could be ready, regardless if you're a manual trader, for both ends of this. And you could look at your weekly expected move, high as well as low, utilize those levels, or you can use some other indicator like a fib or average true range. I use average true range for profit targets. And with the TOS, as an example, the platform of TOS knows what's the average true range is, and you could set those targets for your take profit. So this is a very easy way. You can also just say, hey, take profit at 20%, etc. So this is how you actually get into. Now, if I just wanted to say, hey, get me out with a 20% profit and a 20% loss, you could go right over here. Do you guys see my, do you guys see my my
Nope, not yet.
trade?
You got to reshare the.
Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
all good. I think it's because you have like two different.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get better at that. Shoot,
No,
shoot.
that's okay. So
Let
far, we're
me
doing well. You're good.
let me see this here. How do I get there? So I'm not
So you
sharing
would
there.
present, share screen. I think it would just maybe be a window.
Yeah, it actually says share slides or video files, share screen. I got it.
There we go.
I can
It's all good.
program toss, but I can't seem to work.
It's all right.
Can't seem to work
Here you go.
this. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to come right over here and you're going to say trigger, and then you're going to, and when you hit trigger, this pops up. Now this little button allows you to go over to the percent, and now you can either toggle up 20%, or I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit 20%, tab out, and then I'm going to make sure this is good till cancel. And now for here, I'm going to say, the first thing I'm going to say is, okay, this is my stop order. Great. I'm going to go over to my trigger, just like I did before. That brings up these little buttons. You could do it by dollar amount, or you could do it by percentage. You can go 20. 20 works well with the ebb and flow of the market, I find. But as you automate your trades each and every week, hopefully you do a whole bunch of them so you can see which ones trigger. You'll then start to analyze, oh, what is a good, what is a good stop limit? What is a good reward limit? And then you can start to play with those and see which one works well. For me, it's the 20% positive, 20% stop loss. And now I have my order already in. When I confirm it, you're not going to see the dialogue here, but you're not going to see the dialogue here. But you could actually read it before you send it in. Make sure that it's, hey, TSM at or above 168.95 gets me in. And it's going to sell when I have a 20% profit, or it's going to sell when I have a 20% stop loss. And then the other, whatever ends up happening, I'm in. Whatever ends up happening, the other order will just cancel itself out. And that's how you can do an OCO on TOS. It's relatively easy if you don't have to switch your screens.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time all the time. And I always love that you come back and you kind of update on the previous trades of, hey, here's what worked, here's what didn't, but we keep it moving and we kind of move on to, earnings season is still happening. You always have NVIDIA at the end of the month. So it should be some fun times.
Yeah, big market mover. That's right. That could really change the landscape. So it'll be interesting to see, but we are still in a correction. Still made a lower low a lower high this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see what next week brings. So, take your monies off the table, be cautious until we can actually get some basing and some normal price action. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And we'll see if TSM works. So I'm going to go ahead and program the put on this, and then we'll update you next week on which one triggered.
And I don't know if you already did this, but tell the folks where they can find you outside of just Fridays.
Yes, tradingmadesimple.org. You can locate me there. And if you want to watch a video on automation and how you can use this to make a passive trading system, tradingmadesimple.org/autopilot.
Awesome. And you're on X as well, yeah?
Yes. Thank you. Options_Sandy.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandy. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you next Friday.
All right. Take care, chat.